Today we have with us Mr. Paddy Bird, the founder and tutor of Inside the Edit. To begin with, could you brief our audience about Inside the Edit and how the response has been so far?
Sure. So we launched at the end of August, so we're very, very new, and it's gone exceptionally well. We've only been going for like 3 or 4 months, and we've already got clients in tons of countries, in South Africa, Japan, all over America, Brazil, Venezuela, all over Europe. I mean, it's just been phenomenal. We're really happy with it for such a young company, but because we've got such a unique thing that we're teaching. Really, no one's ever really taught this before. I think the film industry is definitely responded to it well. And when we made that editor promo and released it, it went like wildfire around. So yeah, we're really happy. We're very, very happy. But we've got so many big plans coming up. 2015 is a massive year for us. So we've got a ton of really cool stuff coming out.
And what was the philosophy behind keeping the workshop online? Were there any specific reasons?
Yeah, you can't get thousands and thousands of filmmakers to come to where I live in London. Simple as that. You know, people don't have time to go and do. They don't have time to go to a location anymore in their careers. You know, the people work as well, or they're studying, if they're doing another job, but they just don't have time to do that. So you can actually learn at your own pace, at your own home, and we find it's definitely a much better way to learn. You can do it at your own pace. You can squeeze in an hour here or an hour there, or if you get a weekend free, you can do then if you've got a job, or you can just do it full time. If you a student in the holidays, you can just hit it as long as you want. So it was really important to us that it was online. Because of that factor, yeah.
Okay, and what do you think is lacking in film schools today that workshops are required to develop good editors?
Well, the problem is that film schools, if you ask anyone in the industry, and they will tell you one thing, all the broadcasters say it, all the production companies say it, and they say this one thing. They say, when you leave film school, you're not employable. You don't have a craft. You've got a good idea of maybe where you want to go, but you're not going to go out of there and get money and earn a living, because it just doesn't happen. It's a very common complaint for broadcasters and production companies and stuff like that around the world. You need to have a skill. So we had that very much in the back of our mind when we created Inside the Edit. This is not a technical website like all the other websites. This button does that. That pull down menu and shortcut key does that. There's a ton of people doing that. But learning the software to something and learning the craft to something, the craft is what gets you paid. Not learning this button does that, that lens does that. It doesn't matter whether it's editing or anything else. The craft is what gets you paid, but the industry is so heavily weighted towards the technical. People learn the software, or they learn the camera, and they think they're cinematographers, or they think they're editors. It doesn't work like that. You ask any senior exec producer. A friend of mine said this, who's a very senior exec in England, and he said, I remember asking him about it when I was first starting Inside the Edit 3 years ago, because it took 3 years to make. He said it's amazing because he gets a lot of people out of film school and media colleges and stuff like that. It's like all the films that they show are all like 4K, and they've got to be graded and mixed perfectly. And he's like, we have tons of people who can do that. What we don't have, what the industry is in really short supply of, and always has been and always will be, is people who can tell stories. No one can do that. Very little amount, and it takes a long period of time to learn how to do that, and that's why we teach that. We teach how to tell stories, and no one teaches that. They teach the technical, and young filmmakers, you can shoot a beautiful film on an iPhone or an Android. The resolution doesn't matter. All that technical stuff doesn't matter. What's really important is how you tell the story. But because the way the industry is marketed and because of the way the industry is structured, new filmmakers get obsessed with the technology. So they buy all the technology, they think they're a filmmaker. No. It takes a long time to develop that, or to realize that you have to develop that part of your craft, because that's what's going to get you employed, not learning the buttons.
You spent years teaching at Soho Editors, right?
Yeah.
Which is Europe's largest post-production training center. How was your experience there?
I think, so I taught for a couple of years, on and off. I taught hundreds of people at Soho Editors. Yeah, they are the largest training center in Europe. They're definitely the most well-respected. And I'm pretty sure that if I hadn't have taught for those 2 years, I wouldn't have been able to do Inside the Edit, or Inside the Edit wouldn't have been as good. Learning how to communicate concepts and theories is an incredibly difficult thing to do if you don't know how to do it. You know, the best football players in the world don't necessarily make the best managers. You know, teaching something and doing something are two different art forms, you know? And it was important. It was a very important part that I worked at Soho Editors for many for those years, because I learned the process of teaching. When you sit in a room with someone, with 5, 10, 15 people every single day, and you're explaining concepts, you get to read people's faces and understand and shape over a period of time the concepts and how you explain something, because some of them you can tell within a few seconds if someone gets that or they don't, or who gets it, or the percentage of people that get it in a room. So if they're all going like this, you got to work on that particular concept about explaining it in a better way. So doing it again and again and again and again and again for 2 years with hundreds of different people really honed in my ability to construct the teaching of this art form.
Do you think that students can learn a lot about good editing through watching films?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I spend my life watching films when my wife will let me. I spend a large part. I watch films probably 2 or 3 times for enjoyment, and then I tend to watch them 30 or 40 times for construction. Some films I've watched over 100 times, certain documentaries and things like that, because I need to watch it at least 5 or 6 times, and then I'm not drawn into the emotion of the story. That usually takes about 4 or 5 viewings. And then you're watching it simply for construction. How does this work? Why does that not work? What did they do here? What was missing here? Why did they do that? Why did they build it that way? Why did they construct the narrative that way? I think it's an incredibly important part of the process, yeah. But don't just watch films. You got to make some as well.
How you developed your passion for editing?
The first thing I was drawn to really was, because I was self-taught. I was locked in an edit suite for, I locked myself. Someone didn't lock me in an edit suite. I was in a small production company, and we were all taking it in turns to do camera and sound and sort of multitasking within directing and producing and stuff like that, but none of them wanted to edit. And I'd done a bit of desktop publishing before, and I was kind of forced into the edit suite because we had all this stuff to edit, we had all these productions to do, but no one wanted to edit, so I was forced in there. And then as soon as I got in there, within a couple of days I got the editing bug, and I literally lived in the edit suite for about 8 months. I think I actually bought a blow-up bed, a mattress, and I lived there for a couple of months. I was so obsessed with it. And I taught myself, and I loved the power of constructing a narrative that you didn't get in some forms of drama, I love the idea that you could shape this into anything, and that you were essentially like a journalist. It was multiple art forms in one. I loved it. I got obsessed with it, and I just watched a ton of movies, and still do, and mentally deconstructed the process. It didn't take me long to get the editing bug, and I've had it ever since.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
With cameramen Afnan Hussain and Sagar Lachwani, this is Saba Zahir reporting from Manipal Dubai TV.